Hello everyone and welcome to Real Day Trading. I wanted to do a quick video to show you how to identify a trend. By the way, yes, the 50K challenge going great. Everybody's happy. 11 days in and I'm up $12,000. But I've noticed that a lot of you do not know how to identify a trend and where the trend ends. How to identify when a trend ends. So I want to give you an example. Let's say you are trading off the 5-minute chart, which you should be. Okay? So I'm going to go up one step. I'm going to confirm the trend on the 15-minute chart here. So here's a 15-minute chart of SPY. Now this would work for any stock, right? I'm just using SPY here as an example. So here we have our low point on the 15-minute chart. Put a little circle around it. It's right here. This is where trend's going to start, and it is at 372.90. Now I'm going to keep going up until I hit the highest point before a pullback. For me, a pullback is more than just 2 bars, right? You can define it how you want, but it's clear this is the first time since this point here that we've had a pullback. Now every trend will have a pullback. So right up to here, boom. And then you have this pullback, and now here is the new low point right there, right? You can even, when you get this new low point, you can even put a horizontal line right there and say, okay, there it is, right? Okay, now the trend continues back up, up, until you get a pullback. Yeah, this one here, even though it's 2 bars, but it was strong enough. Again, like I said, this is somewhat, the pullback part is a little bit subjective, but that's pretty clearly a pullback here. And so, all right, here's our new level. Our new pullback level is right there. Okay. Okay, trend continues the next day because this was an end of day bar, by the way, which normally happens with 10 minutes left. And the trend continues, and it continues and continues. Here's the high point before another pullback, which was the open of the next day. So the entire day of the 7th trended upward. Here's your next pullback, and there's your line for it right there, right? Okay. Trend continues up. Here's another high point. Here's your next pullback right there. Continues up again. And then here's your next pullback. It happens right there. Just put the circle right there. There it is. And again, you could put a line right here. So the trend ends when you have, after this pullback here, right? And the pullback actually just continues, and actually pretty much continues down. If you want to consider that, it continues down to pretty much here. Whenever you have a pullback that is below the previous pullback, so here you see this pullback, which continued from Friday on to today, is below the last pullback. That is the end of your trend right there. So here, as I see this ending here, it had not yet on Friday pulled back below the previous pullback, right? Which was right here on this line. Normally what I do is I would just take the average of these 2 pullbacks. So this was 38568, 38666. So what pretty much around, call it $386.20, somewhere around there, right? That would be my line of, okay, this upward trend for SPY is over, right? Then now it's on the 15-minute confirm. Now I can go to my 5-minute. And if I'm looking at SPY on a 5-minute basis, let me erase all this real quick. And I'm trading SPY, right? And let's say I start trading SPY right here. I'm starting here. It's my starting point, right? So, okay, here's my starting point on it. And we go up, right up to here. Here's our first point, our first line here of where we peak. Then we have a little bit of a pullback, not much, but a little bit, down to here. That becomes our level. Then on the 5-minute, we continue up to a new line right here, a new peak. And then we pull all the way back down to here. That's, again, end of day. And these end of day bars can kind of throw your trends off. Sometimes you can just see if it just continues straight from here, right? Because you have this straight from there, right? So looking at it as a complete set on the 5-minute bars, yeah, you have this pullback here. This here is sort of a consolidation, not really a pullback. It doesn't really pull back. So this here becomes your pullback. It doesn't come below this one. So we're coming back up to here. This is your new line. Coming up to here, this is your new high. And then over here becomes your next pullback line on SPY. Continues up, right up to here. You get another peak right here. And then you get another pullback right up to there. As long as the pullbacks keep coming in above each other, you know the trend is continuing, right? Comes up to here to another peak. Zoom in, right up to there, another peak. And then I come up to here and I have another line right there, another pullback, right? And then that keeps happening. And then here the trend is broken. And when this happens and the trend is broken and there is no other trend established, you wait. You do not trade it. Whether it's a stock, whether it's SPY, when you see this here, because right here you have another top, and then let's say another pullback comes in right here, right? So you still have your upper trend in place. You have pullback here, you have a pullback to here, you have a pullback to here, you have peaks here, here, and here. You have another peak right there, right? So you have the peaks are going up, the pullbacks are going up with it. Your trend is still in place. And until that trend is no longer in place, you can trade in the direction of the trend if that direction is the same direction as the market. Now, right now, this is obviously the market, right? But if this was a stock, you'd be wanting to trade it in a bullish direction. So here, we drop below the previous trend line on the open of the next day. You don't want to touch that. You want to wait. Now you see the trend has continued right here, right? So back up it goes. You get another peak right here. It's higher than the previous peak. And then so you can put in another bottom line right there. And then you see it happens again up here. And then all of a sudden, bam, right here on the 5-minute chart, it starts to drop. And then it continues back up, but it never gets above this point right up here, which is the top of that bullish trend for SPY, which started back all the way over here, comes all the way up. Here's your top of your trend. It never hits it. Your pullback went below the previous pullbacks, which were here. Trend is over. This is now chop. This is now, you do not trade it. Now, all of a sudden, you have what could be the beginning of a bearish trend. Now, if it's a bearish trend, it would be the same thing, just in reverse, right? So let me see if I can think of a stock that has been dropping or dropping today, certainly. Zoom, for example, today, right? Zoom dropped quite a bit today. So here you have your drop right down to here, right? There. And here is your low point on Zoom. So this is on the 5-minute right now. Well, let's do on the 5-minute. So here's your Zoom low point right there. And then it continues and you have a little bit of a bump up right there. Continues. And then your next one drops down to here. So here you go, starting to see a slight trend. Not much in the way of pullbacks as we're dropping. It's not really a pullback, keeps going, keeps going. Here's kind of your first one right there. Goes up. There's your line right there. Okay, it continues and continues and continues, and then it drops here again, another low point right there. And then it bumps up again. And so you could see you have a downward trend because your pullbacks on this continue to get lower, as do your price points. That is how you identify a trend, right? If you see that violated, if, for example, Zoom next pullback here goes above this line, well, that tells you that that trend is in danger of ending, that you are now in a situation of chop. That happened today on V. If you can look, it came close, but this is one of the reasons why I swung the stock. So here, well, one of the other reasons is it was through its 50 SMA and through it in a commanding way. This, by the way, is not resistance. It looks like resistance, right? It's not. This is just attempts to get through the SMA 50 here. And here it tried and failed at 205.14. That's when that SMA was at 205.14. It got through, got up to 205.64, 207.09, 206.79. It doesn't mean that there is you draw a line here and say, okay, this is resistance. No, this is just attempts to get through the SMA, right? There is nothing about that number that would cause that to be resistance on the stock. And if you look at the volume profile, there's nothing around that number that would cause it. Well, let's go back to the trend. So here you see we have an upward trend, right? And so here is your first top of it right there, because then you have a pullback and the pullback comes in right there. Now we go up again, and here this is another top because it's higher than the last one. Let's put it in right here. And now you have another pullback, which is slightly above the last one, which is good. Now we continue on. We hit another top right up there. There's your top right there. There you go. Right there. And now you have a pullback, right? But the question is a significant pullback. But notice it never gets below here, which was the last pullback line in the sand. So for this upward trend to stay intact, it has to stay above this line, which is at 204.73, and it ended at 205.15. As you can see here, it tries several times to get below this line, which represents this pullback point. This is also where you would put stops. If you were long on the stock, and let's say you went long here and it's going up and now it's reversing, do you get out of this stock? This is your line. This is the stop that you would want to use, 204.73, to say, okay, the trend, the upward trend on Visa is now over. So that was just a quick video. I will put something like this into the wiki, and of course, please do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your family, your friends, everyone a favor. Read the damn wiki. Have a good night, everyone.